Welcome to another episode of Game Changers for Government Contractors. And today I have Mr. John Cook here with me. We're going to be talking about the Tribal Edge Summit that is coming up here in the DC area. Before we get in there and start talking about this event, which I think the event's going to be awesome. I know last year's was really great, John. Give everybody a quick overview of who you are and what you do.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for having me on. Look forward to the partnership and look forward to you participating in the event. We'll talk about that here in a few minutes. So a little background on myself: has been in government contracting for close to 30 years. Worked with large businesses, small, medium, all in between. Right now, what we're focused on is a lot of the Tribal 8As regarding the Tribal Edge Summit, which we spoke about, and working with small to medium-sized businesses to help them grow and scale as well. We have a company called Strategic Growth Partners. Strategic Growth Partners focuses really end-to-end lifecycle support, all of the fractional support services that help small, medium-sized businesses grow and scale their business without needing to hire a lot of the internal overhead resources. And so one of the unique offerings that we have is, in fact, the tribal advantages, working with Native American tribes, ANCs, NHOs, et cetera, and brokering those partnerships together. That's why I think it's so unique on your topic that you'll be discussing, which will be unique. What is the topic that I think it's
Advanced teaming.
advanced teaming. So I think it's great. I think it segues very well into how this conference is being built. And in fact, it will actually be right before the networking, not the networking, but the matchmaking
Matchmaking.
session. Yes, that will have. So it'll flow right in. It'll be extremely well put together.
Yeah, it's going to be really good. So tell us a little bit about the summit itself. I believe last year was the first year you did it. So 2024 was the first year that you guys had the summit. Tell us a little bit about the summit and kind of how it came to be.
So the vision with the summit was really creating a specific environment for small, medium, large businesses that can partner up with a lot of the Native American ANCs and NHO tribes. Last year was our pilot year, as you mentioned. And so what we did there is we really just brought in our tribal 8A clients to the table, and we then marketed small and medium businesses to get those companies to the table that wanted to matchmake. Because a lot of times, a lot of the small, medium-sized businesses, they see these large tribal 8A sole source deals, but they really don't know how to tap into it. And then what happens a lot of times is maybe they're intimidated with some of the larger tribal organizations that may be multi-billion-dollar conglomerates, if you will, and not really know where to start. And so what we're doing is we're creating this environment to bring those parties together, create an environment that's exclusively focused on that. Because when you go to a lot of these conferences, a lot of times, no matter what you're doing, when you go to conferences, it's like finding a needle in a haystack, because you meet so many people and you have a very specific focus for why you want to be there. But a lot of times it takes a while to find the right group to discuss or the right network connections, et cetera, before you walk away. Maybe a conference has, 5 to 10,000 people, and that can be, quite overwhelming. And so we've created this so it's a much smaller group. It's very laser focused. Last year we had around 300. This year we upped it 100. So we have a venue. It will be at the National Harbor Wharf. Not the National Harbor, the wharf right across the waterway from the National Harbor, from the Gaylord. But this will be right downtown DC at the Intercontinental Hotel, and the team's there surveying this week and getting everything prepped up and ready to go. But we've got a lot of really good speakers, and there's so much going on right now in the current administration with all of the executive orders. We also have a lot of very talented speakers that will be discussing a lot of the state of the current situation, because there's just an awful lot going on, as we all know, a lot of confusion in the market, government contracting side of things, and so it's a venue to focus on business development. It's also a venue to focus on the current legal cases that are out there. We'll also have mergers and acquisitions discussions so that people understand if they are nearing the graduating term of their 8A. We're going to discuss how we do it and how we support our tribal clients to broker those deals. We'll have some speakers up there that talk about a successful transition after selling their 8A to one of the tribes that are in our portfolio, as well as some of the private equity fund leaders that support these acquisitions. And then we're going to have some fun too. We have a motivational speaker that will be there, Coach Larry Wade. Coach Larry Wade has trained 14 world champions in boxing. Is currently the exclusive trainer for Jake Paul, #1 strength and conditioning trainer in the world. And so he'll be there to talk to the audience a bit about, what it takes to be a winner, right? And, this guy's a true winner. And not only is he a winner, he was also Hall of Fame himself in track and field and ESPN analyst. And so he's going to talk about this is what it takes to be a winner, but more importantly, this is what it takes to have to train winners and create
Nice.
winners from scratch, if you will.
Nice. That looks like it's going to be awesome. So what are the dates right now on the 2025?
So the event will take place on April 23rd. That's the VIP dinner. That's that evening. The 24th will be the full day of events, and the 25th will be half a day because we recognize that people will need to potentially schedule travel to get out, late afternoon. And so what we're planning is on the 25th, on that Friday, we'll come in, we'll have you speak, we'll kick off the matchmaking, and we're going to have several breakout sessions as well. So we have a lot of breakout sessions on day one, late afternoon, and then as well as the morning on the 25th. And then the matchmaking will probably take place for about an hour and a half. We heard that last year that we got a lot of feedback. So, man, this was a great event, but man, we would like to have more networking and matchmaking time. And so what we've done this year is if you're coming in and you're a small to medium sized business and you would like to connect with some of the tribes, ANCs, NHOs, tribal 8As, you're going to have that opportunity to do that for probably about an hour and a half and just go down the line and meet with all of these companies. Bring your capabilities, bring your potential products that you have, whatever the case may be, to team up with these guys, get that undivided attention. And then we also have several networking breaks this year. Last year, the schedule was extremely packed. We didn't have as many networking breaks. I think we have probably 3 baked in, 30-minute sessions to get everyone to collaborate. And it's a great venue too. The team, like I said, is down there surveying that this week, and everything's nice together for the large room that will hold 400, and then the 3 separate breakout rooms, which will have continuous breakout sessions for those 2 days. And then, everyone grab their sack lunch and head to the airport or whatever they need to do on Friday afternoon and hit the road.
Yeah, I like the size of the conference, and I love the amount of time. Last year we were at one of the conferences, and I think it was like 4 days. And by day 3, I was like, man, this is just too many days. I'm just worn out. And you need a vacation after going to some of those things that are 3 and 4 and 5 days. And, you got to fly in on a Sunday, you're there all week, you fly out on a Friday or whatever. And it's just too much time out of the business and too long. And I think that's what's contributed to one of the big complaints in the market is about the cost of conferences, and it costing 1,000, 1,200, whatever it is to go to some of the conferences just for the ticket, right? And then your airfare and hotel and all that stuff. So I like the size of this and the time frame. I think it fits good with what the market is really wanting right now. And I like the laser focus too of focusing on these tribes and how to work with them. Because I do believe what you're talking about is very elusive for most people, not just with the tribes, also with bigger companies, but very much in the tribal area. I know even when you have, like I've got several clients that are 8A, they're also ISB, so they're Native American, and they're like, man, we don't know how to get to talk to some of these tribes, even though we are already Native and all this stuff, just because there's just so much to it and how to do it the right way, how to open up those dialogues and make it productive for everybody. On the small business side, how to get them ready to have those conversations because they're not used to having these types of conversations at this level. I think, most people, when they think about teaming, and I'll get into this in the advanced teaming session, but most people, when they think about teaming, they're like, well, I just need to call a bunch of people and see who wants to work with me and that kind of thing. And that just doesn't work. Companies are getting 100 phone calls a month from people that just have their hand out saying, hey, let's work together. And they don't have any opportunities. They don't know any clients. They don't have a strategy on how they're going to do BD together. And they're just lacking a lot of those very crucial skills that make a good relationship. And so I think that'll be really good to go through all of this. Can you talk about just for a minute here, because I know we kind of, you gave a really good overview of the event. I don't want to beat it to death too much, because I think it was really good. We'll keep it clear and concise here. But can you talk for just a minute about what you think the average company is wanting to work with one of these, some people call them the super 8As, right? These tribes, these entity owned organizations, stuff like this. What are two or three characteristics that those organizations are looking for that make a good teaming partner?
Yeah, great question. So I'll just say this. I failed to mention this as I gave the overview. We also have a panel that will be about 45 minutes, and the topic is how to sole source. And so we'll have three tribal 8As up there, actually four, actually three tribal 8As and one NHO. NHO is the moderator. And they're going to walk through, the typical questions that people have, just like this, like how do you engage? How do you do this? What are you looking for, right? And so they'll have all these fantastic questions, and then they'll open it up to the floor for the audience to ask questions. So we're trying to get everyone up to speed on how this works, so that then by the time the networking session and the matchmaking happens on day 2 mornings, people are prepped, they're ready to go, they're prepared when they sit down and have those conversations. They can kind of formulate those thoughts. But the super high level would be this: is what does it take? I can give many examples of how this works. I'll give you an example that just took place this past week. We had a guy out at AFCEA West. And so this individual, he's focused on selling our shared services for strategic growth partners. But he also, he's been in the government contracting space for many years. And so as he goes around and he's hitting all these booths, he's talking about our business model. Here's what we do. But in addition to that, we also have a lot of tribes that we support, and we're looking to match make and so on and so forth. And, the company, of course, their antennas go up and they said, hey, we've got a $55 million contract that is going to be up for recompete. The client wants us, but they don't want to go through the recompete process because, they're afraid that they may lose us. So how do we get back in front of that client, and how can we secure this, right? So a 49% guarantee is better than a potential zero, right? And so what they're doing is now we matchmake, we set them up with one of the tribes. We put that team together, and now they'll go into the end user, and they'll pitch a tribal 8A sole source to say, hey, Mr. Customer, you're going to guarantee to get this company back. We'll go ahead and broker a $50-60 million tribal 8A sole source. This is within DoD. And what your audience here will learn at the event, if they don't know this already, is federal civilian agencies can sole source up to 25. I think there's a provision to maybe even move that to 30 now. And then government, DoD government end users can sole source up to 100. This happens all day long. A lot of people say, well, I don't know. Can that really happen? I mean, I can tell you right now, it happens every day. I mean, we just got one of our clients secured a $100 million sole source a few weeks ago. Thank goodness it was a few weeks ago and not pending right now.
Right.
But oddly enough, here's the deal. With all this confusion that's going on in the marketplace right now, where I do believe that the tribes are very well positioned is, and you probably know this, Michael, is that there's nation-to-nation agreements in place between the tribes and the U.S. government. And so even if there are some disruptions in the current 8A program as we know it today, we believe, based on what we're hearing in our inside track, that the tribes should be very well positioned. Another reason to be at this event, to form these partnerships, because there is so much uncertainty, but we believe there is some certainty, more clarity and certainty with the tribes. But regarding what makes a good partner, someone that's got capabilities, someone that's got end user contacts, and those are really two big attributes. If you've got end user contacts, and let's say you're an 8A. You're an 8A, all you can get, is very small, let's call it $4 million sole source, right? So if you're an 8A and you're able to go in and get that, but the client was like, man, I've got a bigger contract and I love you, but I need a bigger vehicle. And so, and you struggle as an 8A. Well, a lot of 8As, oddly enough, and I'm not surprised. I mean, there's a lot of information out there, but a lot of individual 8As are not familiar with the term or the FAR similarly situated. So we're always educating those smaller 8As on how that works. Because as you know, there's a mentor protege joint venture, and the mentor can get up to 60% of the work, right? Well, what we try to educate the small 8A businesses on that have capacity and have relationships with the government is, hey, listen, let's broker this deal with one of the tribes in our portfolio or ecosystem, or maybe another tribe for that matter. But let's go in and let's try to negotiate, 55, 60% of the work if you're bringing the deal to the table, right? Because if it's allowed under the mentor protege joint venture, then in theory, the teams should collectively be okay with a 8A bringing a deal to a tribe that's 25, 40, $50 million and getting 60% of the work, right? And so
Yeah.
this happens all day long. But it really goes back to the relationships like anything else, Michael.
Yeah, yeah. Relationships are the number one thing here, and I think that's really where when people think about teaming, they're hoping that the prime has that or someone else has that, and they can open a door for them. And really, like I said, there's hundreds of phone calls made every month where people don't know anyone, they are not positioned, they're not prepared, and that's not going to go anywhere. That's just the reality of it. So you have to know someone, you have to have a relationship where they love you already and they want to give you more work. They're just looking, like you said, for a vehicle in order to do it. And this is a great way to do it without trying to put an actual contract vehicle in place. This is a business vehicle and not a certification, but a status vehicle that they can use to easily broker this using the rules that are already in place. And so I love the concept. It's very, very simple. John, like I said, I don't want to go too crazy, too deep on this one because I think that's keeping it simple is really good. Is there anything we missed that you want to make sure people know about the summit before we wrap up here today?
I don't think so. I think we covered it at a super high level. I would just say this: last year we sold out. Let's talk about timing here. I know we kind of talked about the release of this to your audience. Last year it was less than 60 days, probably about 45 days. We sold out. We have had the tickets up, and you talk about pricing. So price point on this, $300. So we feel like that's very reasonable. We've
Yes.
got the lineup of speakers that you can see. I think the big thing is when you release this, maybe add the registration link to the overall so
Yep.
people know where to go to sign up for this. But we've got a great list of speakers. We'll have it's a great venue, great food, couple days of events. We're making matchmaking intimate connections with these tribal 8As that are very difficult, as we mentioned. So not a whole lot to add to that, but I will say this: we'll be at the National 8A conference here in a couple weeks. I'm sure you'll be there. We're really going to ramp up the marketing. I will tell you that we launched this last week is when we pushed this out. And I think that as of today, we're close to like 80, 90 tickets. And so that have been sold. And so, we only have 400. So my guess is it'll be sold pretty quick.
Yep.
And so the quicker that you can sign up, the better. Because once we're out, we can't fit anymore
Yeah.
due to the fire hazards.
Yep. Yep. I know how that the capacity works. You only get so much, and I hope it sells out. And it was great. I got a lot of good feedback from clients that went last year, and so a lot of great feedback there. I'm glad to be speaking and supporting you guys this year, talking about advanced teaming, kind of getting in the weeds on that. I think people will really enjoy that session a lot. There's a lot of good sessions going on, and I will say this: if you come to this podcast and maybe it's a little too late in the game and you can't register for this year's, or for whatever reason you listen after and you miss this one, put it on your radar for next year. That's one tip that I have for a lot of people that they miss out on in government contracting is they find an opportunity late in the game. And this is whether it's an event, whether it's an actual contract, whatever. They find it late in the game. They either can't bid or they bid and they lose. And then they just write it off. And then it's a total surprise next year when it comes up for recompete. I'm always telling people when you find something like this and it doesn't make sense, the timing's off, whatever, put it on your calendar so you have a heads up so you can register next year and make sure you get a seat in this. because I think that's really, really important. So if you miss it, make sure it's on your calendar for early February or late January, early February, so you can get one of those tickets to come to the next round, because I believe there's going to be many more years of this conference. It's providing a lot of value in the market, and that is something people are dying for right now. They're very hungry for new conferences that are providing value in specific areas like this. I think this is one of the challenges for some of the other conferences that are going on right now, is the topics are so broad that people really scratch their head and say, should I go to this because I only want to attend one or two sessions? That's really difficult, at $500 to $1,000 a person. It's a difficult decision to make when you know you only want to do one or two sessions. And so there are some great conferences that have a lot of great content, and you could sit in great sessions all day long, but that is a challenge in the market. And so I think you guys are solving a really good challenge in the market with this. I look forward to being there. Thank you for coming on and talking about this. This is towards the end of April 22nd, 23rd, 24th, or 23rd, 24th, 25th. And it's going to be a really fun conference right here in the DC metro area. So I look forward to seeing everybody. I look forward to seeing you, John.
Now, I appreciate it. And thanks again for the support. Now, let me close with this and say that if you love to get sole source contracts, you've got to be at this event, right? I mean, that's the reality, because we're going to teach everyone how to do this, right? Because a lot of people say, well, I like to compete. I get it. But if you can get a sole source and maybe increase your margins just a little bit, not a lot, because there's fair and reasonable valuations that have to occur on these things. So that's the misconception. People think, oh, I'm going to get a sole source, I'm going to make tons of money. No, you're going to make a decent profit, but you don't have to compete, and it's a guaranteed win, right? Versus a 10 or 20 or 30% win. And that's what we're trying to teach people. So I appreciate it, man. Appreciate the support, and look forward to seeing you very soon.
Good stuff, man. I thank you. We'll see you soon. We'll see you.
Thank you, sir.